Cisco Multicloud Defense, Gateway Deployment and Policy Enforcement with Microsoft Azure. Let's get started. All right, in this exercise, we will deploy a security VPC with ingress and egress gateways. This architecture is based on best practices listed by the cloud provider. So the ingress gateway, which is going to be pod 33 ingress gateway Azure, inspects ingress traffic, so traffic from the internet to the web servers. This architecture uses Azure Public Load Balancer as the front end. The user on the internet uses Azure Gateway Endpoint IP address to access the Pod 33 App 1 Azure instance. Now the egress gateway, which is Pod 33 egress gateway Azure, inspects east-west traffic from Pod 33 App 1 to Pod 33 App 2. And it also inspects egress traffic from Pod 33 App 1 and Pod 33 App 2 to the internet. In this architecture, we use Azure Internet Load Balancer for east-west and egress traffic. It's a centralized deployment model. Let's get started. All right, we're in Multicloud Defense interface. Let's go to Setup and Secure Your Account. Again, centralized is the focus, but we can do distributed model as well. Go ahead and click Next. We're going to create the VPC/VNet, and we need to give it a name. So Pod 33-Security VNet. We'll grab our Azure instance, and we'll grab the right region that we're deploying in, East US 2. Now we need a CIDR block. We're going to use the same IP as we used with AWS. And we'll go ahead and select our availability zones. I'm only selecting one here. In reality, you'd have multiple availability zones. Resource groups. Let's go ahead and find our Pod 33 resource group for East US 2. We've selected. Now this will act as the centralized security point to protect all of our VPCs. We'll go ahead and hit Next, and we're done. Now we can go ahead and add the gateway. So again, we select our CSP, in this case Azure. Our service VPC/VNet, we're going to go ahead and select the one that we just created, and you can see it's still pending. We need to wait for that to be done, and it is now. We'll go ahead and select it. Ingress, east, west, and egress. Pod 33 ingress/gateway/Azure will be the name for ingress. And you can see it's selected here. As I mentioned in the other video with AWS, you can enter it in here manually or scroll down to find it. We'll go ahead and change the name for East, West, and Egress Gateway. And again, we can come in here and select the one that's already selected, which was correct, by the way, or we'll go ahead and search for it. We'll go ahead and grab our resource groups. And we'll go ahead and select our key pair. Looks pretty good here. Let's go ahead and hit Next. And bam, that's it. We now have the centralized VPC or VNet as well as our gateways ready to rock and roll. Let's go ahead and go to Manage. Go to Gateways. And we can see here, got a couple active pending, but we can search for our cloud service provider, in this case Azure. And there's our two instances here. You can see they're active pending. So we can go ahead and secure that environment. So let's do that. Go to Manage, go to Inventory. And here, let's go ahead and go to VPC VNets. And we'll look for Azure. So we'll do a little additional filtering. And we see pod 33, app 1, and app 2 VNet. So let's go ahead and secure app 1. We'll go ahead and grab our service VPC called pod 33 SVNet. We'll go ahead and grab the route table that we're going to modify here. You can see it's being routed to the Multicloud Defense Gateway endpoint. So we'll go ahead and close this. And that's it. Oh, it's still inactive. Let's secure the other one. Pod 33 SVNet. Again, pod 33 app 2. And you can see the default route points to the Multicloud Defense Gateway endpoint IP address. Let's go ahead and say yes. We want to add the default route. Close this off. And they both show inactive. Let's go ahead and refresh. And let's do it again. Bam. That's it. Now again, let's not assume that we've got the controls in place. Next video, let's do some testing.